If you want to rank up in trials consistently, you need to understand one thing. It's not about playing more, it's about scoring better than everyone else. And once you understand how the system really works, climbing from Rookie to Cantina Legend becomes more plannable and more predictable. In this video, I will break down how the trials ranking actually works, what you should focus on, and the exact approach I use every season to climb from Rookie to Hotshot or Cantina Legend. This applies both to solo players and teams, but I'll point out where the difference really matters. So the first part that we need to understand is how the trials ranking actually works. Every week you get 5 trials. Each trial gives you points based on your performance. Your total score determines your position on the leaderboard, and that's what decides whether you rank up, hold your rank, or drop to the rank below you. So the basic idea is pretty simple. You're not competing against the game itself. Like in other games, you are actually competing against other players. The first time you start ranking, you'll start in Rookie 1 and have to work your way up through Tryhard, Wildcard, through Daredevil to then reach Hotshot or Cantina Legend. Once the season ends, you will get demoted based on your final rank, and you will have to work your way up again in the next season. In the end, we're gonna talk about how to maintain Cantina Legend once you've reached it, and how to get it by the end of the season, and how to actually get the final reward by the end of the season. So stay tuned for that. Let's take a look on why people struggle to rank up or even get stuck at specific ranks. Most players don't get stuck because of mechanics. They get stuck because of inefficient decision making. What do I mean by that? The most common issues are that people are focusing on the wrong trials. What do I mean by that? There are specific trials that are capped at a lower amount of points. Like for example, this week, the trial Surge Supply Drops. This is capped out at around 11,000 points, where other trials like Loot Arc Enemies are capped at around 30,000 points. Another issue is that people are committing to bad runs and playing without a clear plan. What do I mean by that? If you start your run and half the time of the raid is gone, a lot of people are committing to the raid and hope for a miracle, which usually doesn't happen. Once you see that you don't have a good run, that you don't get a good score, you can just reset your run and try one more time. It just makes the use of your time way more efficient. Because it's very simple. If your time investment doesn't translate into a good score, then you won't climb the ranks. You will until a certain point, and then you won't anymore. Because the higher you get in the ranks, the harder it will get over time. So we have to focus on a couple of core principles, I'd say. If you want to rank up from Rookie to Hotshot or to Cantina Legend, you gotta focus on a couple things. First, you wanna prioritize the high value trials a little bit more. You gotta identify which trial has the opportunity or the chance to give you more points. And this is especially true like for the lower ranks, I'd say until Daredevil, right? Identify which one gives the highest score potential and focus on this trial. The goal is not necessarily to get the highest score possible, especially from Rookie till Hotshot. Your main focus should be to get a high score. What do I mean by that? You don't necessarily need to reach the absolute highest score, because no one really cares. You just need a high score. Like for example, if the cap is 38,000, you can be totally fine with just reaching 30 or 28. It just depends on your position on the leaderboard, right? That being said, if you see that the run is not going well and it's inefficient, just reset and try again. Don't commit to bad setups or bad runs. For example, if you have to damage vaporizers and you've wasted your first 5 wolf packs to, I don't know, a shield of a vaporizer or the wolf pack destroying hornets instead, just reset and try again. That's no big deal. It's totally fine. One more thing that is true for especially the lower ranks, try to combine the objectives. If you have 5 trials and you can do, let's say 2 or 3 of those in one run with a decent score, get the score, take the score home, and then just try and increase the score later, right? A bad score is better than no score at all. The next part is your ranking strategy and a little bit of the timing of it. And this, once again, all of this is mainly for the ranks from rookie to, I'd say, Daredevil. After Daredevil, all this changes a little bit and becomes a little bit more competitive. What do I mean by timing strategy? There are a couple of aspects that we need to take a look at. So you hit the leaderboard once you've scored the first score towards your trials in the week. So this means the trials reset every week, right? And every week, once you hit the very first score on your trials, this is when you get placed on the leaderboard. If you are the very first in the week to score, you basically create a bracket, okay? A bracket contains 100 people. If the bracket is full, a new bracket will be generated. Which means, especially in the lower ranks, sometimes it's beneficial to not score, even though I know it sounds crazy, to not score until later in the week, because the Tryhard players, right, they will score immediately and they might go for instant leaderboards. So, which means sometimes you end up getting into the first leaderboard with all the sweats and all the tryhards. To avoid this, just try not to score any score towards your trials until, I'd say, I don't know, later in the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. The more you wait, the later it gets into the week, the easier it might be if you know what you're doing, because that also means that you have less time to finish your trials. So you got to be aware of that. Other than that, I would say timing-wise, if you're placing yourself early, try and learn, and this is now more for Hotshot and Cantina, if you're hitting the board early, like the leaderboard, right? Try focusing on learning the trials in the first couple of days, and then towards the mid or end of the week, focus on pushing your score and optimizing your execution and optimizing your routes, getting your keys for the locked rooms, stuff like that, right? Try to learn the trials in the first couple of days and then focus on pushing the scores and getting higher scores towards later into the week. If you need help with this, I will post a video every week on the strategies, and I will also post a link to a Discord down in the pinned comments where you can find other people if you want to play with a group. So the bottom line is, efficient players don't necessarily just play better, they also like play at the right time, meaning they know when to hit the leaderboard, when to push the scores, and stuff like that. Speaking of other people, we gotta talk about solo versus team, and this is, I could rant for hours on this topic, but your strategy differs whether you play solo or you play in a team with duos or trios or whatever. For solo players, you need to focus on consistency, avoid super risky strategies, even though if you want to push for Hotshot and or Cantina Legend, you might have to play a little bit more risky. But for the lower ranks, just prioritize on stable points, on getting points, and on hitting your double or even triple promotion depending on your bracket. If you're playing in teams, duos or trios or whatever, it's all about faster clears, better coordination, better setup. It has a clear upside of higher score ceilings because for most of the trials, you will get more points as a team. That's the unfortunate reality that we're living in right now. This means that especially for Cantina Legend specifically, team play becomes a significant advantage, if not even a necessity. It's going to be extremely hard to hit Cantina Legend this season solo without a team. Once again, if you're looking for players to play with, check the pinned comment down in the description below. Another thing that we have to keep in mind is the current meta and how it's changes from week to week. With every patch and every update and bug pushes, those might change and is subject to change. But for right now, there are some significant mechanics that influence scoring heavily. Like, for example, farming stuff like snitch scanners, wolf packs, stuff like that. These can significantly increase your points in certain trials. Whether you use them or not depends and is up to you, but you should at least understand the impact they have on the leaderboard. There are certain trials that just nets you way more points, for example, with snitch scanners. So let's take a look at the progression and like the roadmap, if you want, and what you should focus on, right? From rookie to, I would say, I don't know, Daredevil, I would personally focus on completing the trials, getting scores for each trial, learning the mechanics, learning the locations, learning what counts, what doesn't count, stuff like that. Once you hit Daredevil, you start looking a little bit towards Hotshot and maybe even Cantina. This is where stuff starts to change a little bit. You need to improve your efficiency. You need to start prioritizing which trials you want to do and what trials you want to focus on. Because as I said, there might be trials that give you more points. There might be trials where you have more potential for score increase. Right? Once you've reached Hotshot or Cantina, it's all about optimizing absolutely everything. Every little slot you have, every minute that you have. Focus on good strategies. Focus on the leaderboard. You always have to have a look at the leaderboard and keep an eye on the max scores and how to achieve them and how to reach them. And this is where understanding the entire system makes a big difference. Once you've reached Cantina Legend, you want to maintain that rank, right? I've seen a lot of people having issues with that, and I'm gonna try and break it down a little bit. And this is especially for the last, it is true for every week, but it is especially true for the last week. Cantina Legend, unlike the other ranks, won't show you whether you're getting demoted or not. In every other rank, you have your bracket is like divided in promotion, unchanged, and demotion. Whether it be a double promo or a triple promo, that's depending on the bracket, right? The higher you get into the bracket, the higher you get. Not that's dependent on the rank. In the lower ranks, you have a triple promotion. In the higher ranks, you only get a double promotion slot. In every rank, you'll have an unchanged slot. And in every rank, besides Cantina Legend, you'll have a demotion slot. Cantina has a demotion slot. It just doesn't show you. And that's very important to know because there is a cutoff at some point. But the cutoff that is getting demoted is not shown to you, and it changes from week to week. What does that mean? That means that around, I would say, the lower 30 to 40% of Cantina Legend, those scores are taken and compared to the scores in all the Hotshot brackets. If you have a higher score in the Hotshot bracket than the guy in Cantina, you basically push the guy in Cantina down. Right? Till the point where people in Cantina Legend are getting demoted to Hotshot and the Hotshot player are getting promoted to Cantina Legend. That means that in the last week, the people in Hotshot not only have to compare their scores with other people in Hotshot in their bracket, but also with other Hotshot brackets and the players in Cantina Legend, especially in the lower part. So if you want to push for Cantina, and this is where solos probably won't get it done this season, if you want to push for Cantina Legend and you want to maintain your position in Cantina Legend, especially in the last week to get your reward, you need to be as high up on the leaderboard in Cantina as you can. But once again, then you will have to compete with trios and duos, which is just very, very hard, if not impossible as a solo player. So this is the way you get to Cantina. Now, if you want strategies or you need help with your trials, just make sure to check out the weekly trials that I post every week in the beginning of the week, where we go over the trials, how to achieve the highest scores, either as a solo player or in a team. That being said, as I said, I'm doing my trials solo. I'm doing them usually live on stream on twitch.tv/VaniP. The link is down in the description below. If this video was any helpful to you, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. It would help me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Good luck in your trials, and I'll catch you topside.